1,000 feet. Use the right 2 lanes to keep right.
Hey everyone, welcome to Prepare to Go There. It's the most overlooked and underrated coaching conversation that we can be a part of right now. And I just think that because I'm convinced that our future deserves our focus today. Face it, no one else is pioneering your future. That's why you have to do this. You have to put in the work and you have to go through the necessary yet unnoticed preparation in order to show up ready. My name is Peter, and it has been a joy and a privilege to go on this extended coaching journey with so many friends and leaders alike who want to better lead themselves and stay focused on the future. So welcome back or welcome aboard. If you're watching live, go ahead and say hi in the chat. And I want to say welcome to the Future Frontier, where we are making a difference and going the distance. This is going to be a fun run today. We're talking about how to examine ourselves as a form of self-leadership. You know, we talk a lot about the personal side of leadership because I think it doesn't get enough attention. It doesn't get enough credit. The reality is most of us are in that phase of life right now where we're head down, we're putting in the work. We've already, taken a field trip to the future, so to speak. We've already seen what's possible. We agree with what's important, and we're putting in the work. We want to lead, and we know that it starts with us. And so it's been my, observation. It's been my experience that most people just don't know how to do this easily, right? Most people don't know how to lead others into a better future. And it's because they don't know how to lead themselves there first. And so here comes Prepare to Go There, this video podcast. It is a daily coaching conversation, a daily coaching journey for friends and leaders alike who are really crushing it in so many different spaces. You're in media, you're in business, you're entrepreneurs, you're in ministry, you're leading great families, and you just are taking on the world. It's just amazing what kind of creativity and courage and generosity you're bringing to the table. And so you really inspire me. And I'm convinced that the future is going to need more leaders, not fewer. And that leadership is going to matter more, not less, as we go. And so we're not going to have time to figure stuff out when these big calls to action show up. We don't want to just try to rise to the occasion. We really want to be patient, stay passionate, and fall back on our preparation. And so those are kind of the two, well, I'll say the first big idea of Prepare to Go There, if you're just jumping in, is how do we overcome a lifetime of procrastination? And all those things we're talking about, all those things we're dreaming about, all those things we're praying about, if we're not careful, they will drift to the back burner for days and then decades. And so the motivation behind this coaching journey is navigating and negotiating all of these challenges, all of these choices that we're going to be facing towards the future, and keeping the future on the front burner. Like, are you excited about where you're going? Are you still engaged in the process of preparing to go there? And you're going to go amazing places. You're going to go do amazing things, whether you're, in your teens or whether you're in your, 80s. Regardless, we're all showing up with the right heart form, the right mindset, the right skill sets, the right relationships to thrive in the future, not just survive it. And so self-leadership is the big idea, because I'm convinced self-leadership is how we move from a lifetime of procrastination into a lifestyle of preparation. That's where you're actually ahead of your time. That's where you're actually running ahead of not just the crowd, but you're running ahead of the people that are ultimately, eventually going to be counting on you. They're counting on your development. They're counting on your sacrificial decisions. They're counting on your leadership development, because they're going to need whatever you go pioneer today in a few years from now. And so take that as a you know an exciting invitation. Take it as a sacred charge to really leverage what feels to be mundane, and make it count, make it meaningful. And so that requires us to figure out self-leadership. And it's because most people you hang out with or talk to, they may not really get a grip on what you're going for yet. And that's okay. Visionary, pioneering leaders are not intimidated by that. And so you've got to lead yourself and be okay with that. But also, there is a lot of development. There's a lot of leadership development and personal development and character development that's necessary for the future you're taking on. And in my experience, that's happening in an underground season, right? You are just head down doing the work and training. And so you can't be discouraged during that unnoticed yet necessary preparation phase. You can't get distracted, and then you can't get disqualified before you ever show up. So I really want to encourage and challenge a bunch of you, because you're the emerging leaders. You've got these amazing, just identity upgrades that are happening, and you're going to have to steward them really well when it feels like it's inconsequential, and you're going to have to go the long haul and live today with where you're going in mind. And so that's where this call to action happens. It's for friends that I'm having these kind of conversations with all the time. I hope that I'm, sharpening you in some ways, and y'all definitely inspire me to keep going and keep growing. And we're learning self-leadership so that we can stay focused practically on the future and get some grit, you know what I mean? Instead of just escaping mentally to some fictitious version of whatever we want to see. And we're also learning how to lead ourselves there tactically, so that way we're staying really, really clear on the outcome, but we're not fixed or kind of rigidly stuck on things happening a certain way. We're able to stay adaptable, remain resilient, and to keep pioneering, keep actually creating as we move forward. So if that resonates with you, I want to invite you to be a part of our email community. I call it the Future Friends, and I send out an email on Fridays just with a roundup or a bundle of all of this coaching content from the week. So it'll be an easy way for you to keep track of what's happening out here in the future frontier. And then I'll be explaining a little bit more about how you can download a free fail-proof planning guide at the very end of this. So hang tight with me. But we've been talking about self-examination as a daunting task, but a necessary one, because examining yourself really is a form of leading yourself. If you do not personalize this self-leadership best practice, you're either going to repeat the same poor decisions, or you're going to outsource your own innate responsibility and be living based off of other people's opinions. And it depends on which kind of people you have in your life. But over time, you're going to realize that that's not sustainable. You were designed to develop into a holistic and mature individual that is not just going to be a burden, but is going to be a strength to other people. And so we need to be grateful for what we've been given, and then steward it and take responsibility of those opportunities. So that way, to whom much is given, much is required. And so that's a high bar. We want to live worthy of our calling, and so examining ourselves is good, not just for us, but for others as well. And so that's my big idea today. Examining yourself actually empowers others. How is that possible? How do we experience this? And so my encouragement is, don't make your lifestyle of learning secretive. Don't be, working on yourselves just personally, privately, and never export what you're learning, what you're enjoying to other people. But be an encouragement to other people that, hey, you're still figuring life out too. You're modeling humility. You're, living transparently. And hopefully you're leading in a way that others want to follow. So if you're on a team, this conversation is going to be really important for you, because examining yourself is actually going to set the tone for the rest of the team. It's really important that we are letting people listen to our own self-examination, our own thinking process, because they really are going to pick up on it. It's going to become a contagious best practice for innovation, for growth, and a source of encouragement as your team, takes on new new territories for sure. But I want to pick up a quote. I'm totally inspired by the life of Jesus, and he's describing something here that I think is really revolutionary. He says, why do you notice the small piece of dust that's in your friend's eye, but you don't want to notice the big piece of wood that's in your own eye?" And this is really just a excerpt of a much broader conversation that he's bringing forward. But I want us to realize this isn't just, something that happened, but this is something that will keep happening. And so we can personalize it to where we are today as well. And he's talking about stuff in our eyes, which could very easily refer to our eyesight or our worldview, the way we see things. And it's very easy to these get these things in our view that prevents us from having clarity, having vision, having insight. And so, self-examination needs to be our lead, not just our follow-up. It's not that we're judge and jury for other people, but it's that we are taking ownership of this reflection so that we can become a resource to our relationships. Sometimes people take this out of context and say you shouldn't say anything at all to others around you. You shouldn't speak up at all. You should just, basically keep your tail between your legs and just, just kind of run home humiliated because everybody's got stuff going on. Everybody's got issues. Everyone is basically disqualified to speak up. And so you're supposed to just basically tolerate and then celebrate everybody's life choices, regardless of whether it's in alignment with their original design or not. And, he says even after this, that once you deal with the stuff in your view, in your line of sight, then you can reach out, you can help, you can support, you can serve. And so one of the motivations to deal with your own line of sight, your own thinking, your own worldview is so that you can now help other people as well. He gives this really, really scathing indictment or summary of some of the leaders, the religious leaders in that time period, basically representing a style of leadership that is not cool because it's built on a lot of the wrong ideas. And he says, hey, they're basically like blind people leading blind people, the blind leading the blind. And this can happen in our teams and in our organizations where we become basically distracted or disconnected from what's going on the front lines, or even what's going on in the interior of ourselves and each other. And so developing this keen intuition, developing this keen sense of insight really does help us to be a resource to other people. And here's the big idea that I want us to personalize today. If you're going to refuse ownership of self-examination, if you're going to say, I don't practice self-examination, I'd rather just play with self-exoneration, or in other words, you just excuse yourself. You're not taking exams, you're making excuses. Then you're basically going to be blaming everyone else for the problems you're feeling or facing. And in the process, you can lose your own empowerment through that unknowingly. So I don't want you to get in the habit of feeling helpless, thinking hopeless. I want you to take that first step, which is really scary when you're getting started, to actually say, you know what? I have a part in this. I can take responsibility here. And it really is that first step that helps you out. And then that unlocks the master key. So that way you can be a strength, a counsel, an encourager, a resource, a coach, an investor for other people as well. And so self-examination doesn't stop with you. Examining yourself will have ripple effects that go far and wide into your friends, your family, your team, your influence. All of these spheres or circles of your life are going to be impacted just by your inside world, just by your thought life, just by your self-talk or your dialogue and your development. And so how do we actually begin to model examination for other people? That's kind of the question I want to land with here. Is number one, you can lead with self-examination. Before you react, stop and reflect. Okay? Before you react, pause and reflect. And then say, you know what? Let me work on me first. And this could be literally 10 seconds, 30 seconds. but having that intentional pause before you speak, before you react, before you lash out, before you counter, pause and say, okay, what is happening? This is what they teach in the military. What is happening? What is not happening? And then what am I to do? What's the next step I can take? Because if you just, react, if you just kind of blast off, you might be working with irrelevant, outdated, erroneous information. You might be trying to school someone with a textbook that isn't real. And that would be even worse for you to try to take the high ground, the moral high ground, or the organizational high ground, and then somebody else comes and kind of proves that what you've been saying, what you've been doing isn't all there. And then here you are having to backpedal or sidestep or whatever. So leading with humility is super important. Realizing that you need help, you need the grace of God just like everybody else. But what that does is it makes so much more room, so much more space for people to grow together, for people to learn together, for people to see things for themselves. And I mentioned earlier, that in that quote that Jesus made, he says, once you deal with the log in your own eye, then you can go help somebody else. And there's this kind of goofy thought that we're never supposed to speak up, that we're never supposed to speak the truth in love. Although, as a Christian, as a believer, I'm instructed to speak the truth in love. So obviously there's times and places where it's not only good, but it's warranted. It's expected. But if you don't go through this reflection process yourself, then you can't take other people through that that reflection and that help as well. And so you kind of have to know the terrain before you take people in there. You kind of have to know the ups and downs. You have to go feel the insecurity that is going to be facing you out there. Go feel the overwhelm, the decision fatigue. You kind of have to experience that firsthand so that you can be an encourager, so you can be some sort of guide or some sort of friend for other people that are going through that. And that's why I'm just so inspired by so many of you. You have refused to just fall back on your trauma, fall back on your excuses, fall back on those lifestyle choices that brought a lot of damage to you and to others near you. But you've chosen to really power through and to come back with a story of hope, and to be an example of not being defeated by that, but learning how to you know basically admit that you were wrong, and then go through the steps to make things right, and to realize that you're going to need to go through that transformative process, and then you become something of a trainer for other people that are still going through that process. And so whatever trauma you've gone through, there's transformation on the other side of it. And whatever transformation that you've experienced, there's other people, that are going to be counting on you to be either a voice of encouragement or to actually give some instruction and to train them through that. And so this is an opportunity, not not only an obstacle. We've got to really buck up. We've got to really step up and not be so fearful or so timid about all of the challenges that we may be facing or feeling internally, but to go on that journey of self-examination to say, okay, for real, what is happening? What is not happening? And then what am I going to do about it? And as you start taking those steps and you're learning and you're leaning forward, even if you're failing forward, the progress that you're experiencing will inform a process that other people can begin to implement in their own lives. And what I've learned is if we rush to conclusions and if we just kind of take on judge and jury of other people, we're going to be so cut short of so much more impact and influence that's possible. Um, Whereas in the other sense, if we're kind of um, going low, so to speak, and we're humbling ourselves first, we have a choice. Either we will humble ourselves or someone else will humiliate us. And so going through that kind of private um, humility process, whether you're being humbled with where your fitness is, you're being humbled where um, your intellect is, you're being humbled, you're going through these tests, you're going through this training, you're going through this development, you're learning things, and you're like, I thought I had more of this down. I thought I was doing better. I thought I could, just go run up the mountain and come back without falling over and wanting to get an oxygen tank or something. But being willing to personalize that process yourself is actually going to equip you to be a coach and a resource for other people first. So don't react, reflect. Okay? Don't react, reflect. And then you're actually going, when you interact with people and your team, you can do this kind of in one of two ways. But basically, you want to begin to verbalize your thought pattern in front of other people. You want to begin to model uh, some of the success that you've been experiencing internally. And people don't always know what's on your mind. They don't know how you got to where you are, or how you're, you know, um, making good with your time and with your projects. And so you kind of have to be intentional, and you have to be open and authentic and start talking about it. Start talking about as much as you can, so that way other people can benefit from that example. And then one thing that I really like to do with the people on my team is I want to listen, and I want to listen to where they are, and I want to understand what they're feeling, what they're facing, so that I can better understand them. And I like to try to lead with questions. I haven't done that as well all the time, but I really have seen a lot of value in leading with questions, because it forces them to think. It forces them to start contributing and collaborating on the solutions. I don't want to build a team that starts, with micromanaging and then ends with an unsustainable codependency on the leader, where at first I imply that they need me for everything, and then later on they believe it, and then they think that they need me for everything. And I don't think anyone wants to live in that kind of world. Not if you're really trying to um, develop and deploy people. So it might be more valuable to pause, take a little bit longer, dialogue, and begin to assess situations with problem solving, with creative thinking, with not just, you may know what the answer is. You may know how to, just get from A to Z very quickly. But if you want to empower other people, they're going to have to learn how to think through things, not just what to think about things. And that requires a time investment on our part. But honestly, there are probably a dozen or more people that made the same time investment in you. They waited on you to learn the ropes. They waited on you to fail forward. They waited on you to get empowered as well. And so I just wanted to kind of drop an easy an easy idea here, and saying that self-examination is not done in isolation. Self-examination is kind of a team sport. Everybody can play this game. And, you know, I want to model and I want to multiply this value of ownership in other people. And so I'm trying to model that, and I'm trying to think before I speak. I'm trying to listen before I speak. But I also want to ask questions to see where other people are. And I'm telling you, whenever you're building a team, it really does matter who is on the team. And one of the filters that we can use in leadership to really assess the caliber of the people on our team is to see their own ability to examine themselves, to personalize responsibility, to take ownership, to to go on that daunting task of saying, "Hey, forgive me. Hey, I need to be honest about this." To because if someone is able to work on themselves, then that's a full-time job that you don't need to do anymore. But if someone cannot work on themselves, then you literally just took on a full-time job, because working on you is a full-time job. And so if someone else is not willing to do that work, then if you're responsible for them in one way or another, then that's on you too. And so I wouldn't put up with that personally. Maybe I'm not kind enough, but I don't have enough time or energy to work on everybody else. I don't have that bandwidth, and I don't have that desire. What I am excited about is being a friend or being a leader that can go on the journey with people as they are learning discipline, as they are learning discernment, as they are learning hopefully some discretion later on, but as they are learning how to navigate life, and then they can be deployed not just as a learner but as a leader. And that's super cool. And just going on that time investment brings you closer together with other people. A lot of people want to take credit for your development, but they weren't there. They weren't there all the time. They didn't pick up the phone. They didn't initiate. They didn't go hang out with you. They didn't make those deposits along the way. And we can't do that in every season of everybody's life. But if we'll be willing to slow down a little bit just while someone is with us in our proximity for that season, then I believe we're just hopefully planting some good seeds that will grow up into healthy relationships, healthy friendships in the future. And then there's some trust and rapport there. And then these skill sets will collaborate well together. And then people are on the team. People are on the team together. So I'm not going to belabor the point. I just want to give you 2 cautions. Number 1, please reflect before you react. Go through the same steps that you would want the other people on your team to take. And then number 2, even if somebody wants to give you the gavel, even if somebody wants to give you the scepter of their own decision-making process, man, don't grab that lightly. Don't take that on. That's really not for you, because the moment you give away that kind of responsibility, you become lorded over. And then the moment you take that kind of responsibility, you're actually operating in a different style of leadership that kind of short circuits what you say you're all about. And so, just be open-handed, be open-minded, but be open-handed. And, it kind of goes back to that indispensable principle: freely we receive, freely we give. I want to be there for people, but I know that everybody's on a journey, and I just want to be an encourager, and I want to keep pointing them to things that are true, and keep pointing them to, just the unique story that they get to be a part of. So I feel like I'm rambling, so I'm going to chill out. We've got an amazing 2 more conversations after this. Amazing 2 more conversations after this. The first one is tomorrow. It's going to be the key to get out of cage rage for good. Hopefully that's a cliffhanger that will make you want to come back. And then on Friday, we're going to do so glad it's Future Friday. I was going to say, thank God it's Friday. So glad it's Future Friday. And I'm going to be interviewing or having a conversation with 2 amazing free thinkers, my wife, Sarah Joy, and then our friend, Lacey Henderson, who is just an amazing therapist and really delves deeply into this. Sarah Joy's laughing at me, which is good. Yeah, I know. So glad it's Friday. But I definitely want you to listen to those 2 conversations, and this has been super rich. So remember, self-examination is a team sport. It's something that you can model, and it's something that you can actually mentor people through. It's not by doing the thinking for them, but it's by being willing to take them into your own reflection process, to be humble, to be transparent, and then don't be so quick to be the answer person. Encourage them to search or research, to make their own conclusions, and teach them how to think with discernment, teach them how to process things patiently with a measure of discretion, so that way they're going on a helpful, healthy development that's going to end in an effective deployment. But if you got, team members that they're the best followers, but they're not willing leaders, then they don't have their own thoughts, or if they do, they're not willing to share them. And so we've just got to continue to draw that out through relationship, through trust building, through training, and just make sure that your win is helping empower other people, develop a culture that empowers other people. I'm super excited. I was just kind of working on some content strategy today, and we're going to be taking an entire week just to talk about empowering other people in your team culture. So we'll definitely make time to go deeper in that direction. Hey, if you appreciated this conversation, would you would you subscribe? Would you do all of those things that we do on YouTube? and social media. It really goes a long way. It helps me get this conversation out to other friends and leaders who want to lead themselves and stay focused on their future. And I mentioned that there is a free resource waiting on you. And here it is. It's the fail-proof planning guide. You just click the link at the bottom of this video and you can instantly download a step-by-step proven process. It's going to help you get going so you can get better. It'll start you with just a question-based tool, and you'll just be working through your roles and goals, identifying some rhythms and routines to help you map it out and flesh it out. And then it's going to get you into a good routine of a weekly planning session. So all of that for free. Just my way of saying thank you for being along with Prepare to Go there. And please make it a point to join for the next 2 rounds, because they are only going to get better. I assure you, they are only going to get better. And this is so important that we do. Remember, you're going places. So put in the work today and prepare to go there. See you tomorrow.